Laquita Parks, CEO and founder of PayPro-V Publishing. She's passionate about helping individuals take their story from a thought to a realization. PayPro-V stands for pain, progress, victory. The subject Laquita is all too familiar with. A survivor of childhood medical trauma, she experienced a series of events that have forced her to battle with the painful effects that will last throughout her lifetime. Despite these challenges, Laquita is an overcomer, and she believes you are an overcomer too. As publisher and contributing author, she told her inspirational story in the international and domestic best-selling anthology, She Said Yes to Herself, Unapologetically Empower Her Guide. She uses her story to motivate, encourage, and inspire others to share their stories. She believes there is someone waiting on the other end of your story to get healing from their story. Free yourself from the pain and shame of a tucked away story. Do you want to tell your own powerful narrative, but you aren't sure where to start? Your journey towards healing begins now.
Well, hello. It's me. I know you guys have probably been wondering, where is Laquita? Where is our Heart on Pages? My Heart on Pages. Well, we're back. We have been in hiatus this year. A lot has been going on, but I am super excited to be here, and I'm going to show you guys my new promotional flyer, My Heart on Pages, a place where authors share the heart of their story. So I am so excited to be here. For those of you who don't know me, I am Laquita Parks, Dr. Laquita Parks. I am the CEO and founder of PayPro-V Publishing, and PayPro-V is Pain, Progress, Victory, because I believe without pain, there is no progress, and without progress, there can be no victory. I help people take their stories from a thought to a realization. And listen, I'm going to tell you, we have been extremely busy, and that's a good thing, because we have been on this mission to help people tell their stories, because we want to be the difference that makes a difference. So I am excited to have my guest today, a special guest. And when I tell you her story is amazing, it is amazing. So back in the earlier part of the year, last year, we did a project called Our Journey from Girls to Women. This is a best-selling anthology. And there were 25 women, including me, who participated in this project, and they shared their stories. Well, my guest, her name is Shanita Dawson-Ugwuke, and I know that I mispronounced her last name. I know that I did, but I'll get her to pronounce it correctly. She told an amazing story, true story, called Trauma Tried to Kill Me. And I'm going to bring Shanita on so that we can jump into her story. You guys are not ready, so hang on to your seats. I am going to bring Shanita on. Hey, girl.
Hello, everyone.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good. It's so good to have you here. Thank you so much for being my very first guest for this season of My Heart on Pages. I am so grateful. Best-selling author.
Yes.
Best-selling author.
Yes.
So Shanita, tell us about yourself, introduce us and tell us about yourself, where you live, and, all that good stuff they want to hear. And then we'll jump into the story.
Well, everyone, my name is Shanita Dawson-Ugwuke. I'm the mother of 4, a grand of 5. Have plenty of nieces and nephews. I'm the wife to a loving husband, Hillary. In my spare time, I just like to spend time with my family and travel.
Awesome. Now, so Shanita and I met. We officially met this year. Well, last year, when this project came on. However, we are related, and we didn't know each other growing up.
Nope, not at all.
Our paths may have crossed a time or two, but we did not know each other. And it turns out that we're cousins.
Yes.
We're cousins. Her dad and my mom, my grandmother actually helped raise her dad. So I call her dad Uncle Cousin.
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Cousin. And
Yeah.
he was in the first book, Our Journey from Boys to Men. So he shared his story in there. But he used to always tell me, you need to talk to my daughter. You need to talk to my daughter. That girl has a story. That girl
Yes.
has a story. And so I didn't know her. We didn't meet, but we had a chance to meet at the book signing for Our Journey from Boys to Men. And
Mm-hmm.
then she and I started talking, and I remember this conversation like it was yesterday. You said, I want to tell my story, but I don't want to offend you,
Mm-hmm.
because the story and some things with your dad. And I was like,
Yes.
girl, don't worry about that. Tell your story.
Yes.
Don't worry about offending me. You won't. I promise you won't. But
Mm-hmm.
tell your story, because I believe that everybody has a story, and somebody's waiting on the other end of their story to get healing from your story, to get healing from their story. And
Yes.
boy, it is a story. Is it a
Mm-hmm.
story? When I think I shared this with you, when I first read your story, I was like, wow, it just moved me to tears. I could not believe it. So let's talk about, let's first of all, let's start with, this was your first published piece, right?
Yes, it was.
And so how was that? How was that? All right, girl. All right. What was that process? Tell me, how was that
Woo.
process?
It was very overwhelming, I must say. Some challenges I had to face, but I just prayed my way through, because I was like, God didn't bring you to it to leave you there. And he
Mhm.
brought me through it. And I need to share my story with others, because I was one of those ones before it happened to me that I was like, oh, girl, it don't go that way for me.
Mhm.
So I overlooked a lot of things. So I knew it was time. I knew
Mhm.
it was time,
Mhm. Awesome. So what made you say yes to this project?
because I wanted to release everything I had gone through. And I want to be able to help other women to know it's okay to walk away.
Mhm.
Don't second guess yourself, because a lot of times we tend to tell ourselves that's the best we can do, or it'll get better, and it doesn't get better.
Mhm.
If we
Mhm.
stop telling ourselves it'll get better, we just walk away, get the help. Sometimes you got to be vulnerable. And if you're vulnerable, it works out in your favor if you're trying to move away from your situation.
And
So,
you know what? I'm glad you said that. That is very important, because sometimes people get caught in the situation,
yes,
and they don't know how to move forward. They're stuck. They're stuck
you
there, but
justify.
they're also not open to the move. And
Right.
sometimes the move hurts.
It
Sometimes
does.
you got to hear the whole truth. Sometimes you got to be open to hear the truth, because you can't grow if you don't. If you're
No.
always like, oh, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it, you're not going to
You'll be
grow. You're
stuck.
not going
You'll
to
be
grow. You'll
stuck.
be you'll be stuck. You'll be stuck in
Yeah.
those nightmares. I want
Mhm.
to read just a little portion of your story, and then I want to talk about that. Okay.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to start in the middle, because listen, you know what? We believe that you have to what, Shanita? You got
Tell
to buy
your
the
story.
book. You
You
got to
gotta
buy
buy
the
the book.
book.
You
You got to
gotta
buy
buy
the
the
book.
book.
You can tell your story, but you got to buy the book.
You
So
gotta, yeah.
right. So if you want to purchase the book, you can reach out to Shanita, reach out to PayPro-V, and we will connect you with Shanita. But purchase the book directly from her. Okay. So her story is Trauma Tried to Kill Me. And so here's a little side note. That was not the original name of her story. The publisher changed her stories, the title to her
But it
story.
worked it out for the best.
And we went with it. A beautiful title.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna start here. As a little 3-year-old girl, I wanted a pet. It did not matter what kind. So one day my mom's boyfriend surprised me with a white rabbit. I was so happy to have something I could play with that was real. Only having had Bunny for a few months. I love how you named it Bunny. Only
Mhm.
having had Bunny for a few months, who would have thought it would come to an end? Late one night, I heard a loud voice coming from downstairs. I walked downstairs to see what was going on. There, I saw my mom and her boyfriend arguing. The closer I got to them, the more I began to cry. He then snatched Bunny from me and threw Bunny on the ground. Bunny stopped moving, and all I could see was red. The room went silent. As I reached to pick Bunny up, my mom's boyfriend picked him up and started apologizing for what he did. He promised me another bunny that I never forgot. I never got. Reflecting on this moment now as an adult, I realized I had my first trauma experience. Wow, that's traumatized. That really is traumatizing.
Yes.
That is really traumatizing. I'm imagining seeing this bunny. You know, bunnies are real. They are real non-threatening animals. They
Yes.
are just they all they do is procreate. They
Mhm.
multiply. And they're bunnies. It's Easter time, and that's the bunny rabbits and the cute bunnies and the yellow bunnies and of course the
Mhm.
candy bunnies. But that has to be that was traumatic.
Yeah.
So what do you remember about that time, and how did that start the set the stage for what you were going to encounter in your life?
Well, I remember the bunny was so white and pretty, so cute. Um, Thinking about that moment because I can't say I'm not going to say the person name. Like I looked at them kind of like a father figure because they was my mom boyfriend. They was around for a while, and it's funny because I can remember everything from back then. I guess because it was so traumatizing that everything sticks with me.
Mhm.
And after he did it, my mom took him back.
Mm.
She was upset, they had their moment,
Mhm.
but she still took him back.
Mhm.
And it was kind of like, I'm not going to say narcissist, but his behavior was kind of like charming. So you kind of forgot what he did until
Mhm.
he did something else again.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I think that is what started me from not moving myself from situations.
Mhm.
Oh,
Mhm.
they say they sorry, forgive them. But sometimes when people say they sorry, you just got to say, no, I'm not dealing with you no more.
Mhm.
But I took it on as somebody say they sorry, they'll do it again. I just keep forgiving and keep staying in the same situation. So they
Mhm.
set the tone for me being in a lot of trauma in my life
Mhm.
without
Mhm.
walking away.
Hmm. So, and you know what, we as women, sometimes as women, especially depending on the situation, we become too trusting.
Yes.
And you're right. You're right. It's like, okay, well, he said sorry. I'll forgive him. And it's kind of like, you have a baby and you forget the birth pains, and then you have
Hmm.
a second baby. When you have that, when you're going through it, you're like, I ain't having no more. I ain't having no
Right.
more. And then you have a second one, and then you have a third one.
Yeah.
I know that was my problem. That was my story. But then you go through it, and then it takes a minute before it hits you, and it's like, okay, this ain't right. This
Mm-mm.
ain't right.
Mm-mm.
So lead us to, give us some background about, your childhood growing up. You share a lot in the book. And I know as
Yeah.
much as you share in a book, as much as one can share in a book, just know that it's just a piece of the story.
Yep. Not my
Because you
full
can't put your
story.
whole life, you can't put your whole
No.
life in one book. It's
Mm-mm.
just a piece of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So your story is by far amazing. And the fact that you are sitting here looking as beautiful as you are, and you can talk about the story.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just it ain't nothing but God. I'm
Only
not gonna
God.
say I'm not gonna say it was a miracle, because it's not. It was God.
It
That
was
it was
God
nothing
only.
but
By
God.
his grace and his mercy.
His grace and His mercy.
Yes, yes.
So tell us about when you first met your first husband. Tell us about that.
So when I first met my first husband, I had to be around 15. Yeah, yeah, I was around 15 because I had just had my daughter at 14. I turned 15 2 months later. So I met him, and it was at a Wendy's. Well, I met his friend actually. I originally met his friend at a Wendy's in Decatur, Georgia. And so we were started talking, and then one day my ex-husband started calling, and he was like, I'm gonna bring him to meet your mom because he need to come meet your mom. And I was like, okay. So when they finally came to meet my mom, he started talking. He said, you're a nice girl, you need to go to school, you need to do something with yourself. But he didn't know I was 15
Mhm.
because there wasn't a lot of teen parents back in my day.
Mhm.
So if you seen somebody, you typically thought they had to be at least 18 with a baby. And of course I was a little mature
Mhm.
for us mentally for my age,
Mhm.
because I had already helped raise my sisters, and then my mama put me into like adulting. So most people know what that means. So that's how it started. So we started talking from there, and when we got together, it was okay, and we got together. I think maybe less than 3 years in the relationship, the abuse started. I overlooked it, so I became pregnant with my second child, which is, my ex-husband's child. And it was abusive during my pregnancy. And, he's like, I'll change. And nothing changed. Nothing changed.
So the abuse didn't start until you guys had been dating for 3 years before the abuse started?
About 3 years. Yeah.
So it started when you got pregnant or before you got pregnant?
Before I got pregnant Before I got pregnant with
now,
my second
now
child.
in the book, you tell a story that share that with us. You tell the story where you took him to meet your grandmother.
Oh yeah. So and this was before I even got pregnant now. So when I took him to meet my grandma, it was a family reunion, something that was going on. So we went to my grandma's house, and my grandma said, that man is the devil. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna be together because we're gonna be together because I want to leave my mom's house because I was going through a lot at the time. Some people probably said it wasn't bad, but in my mind, it was bad for me. So I overlooked what my grandma told me. And I'd be dang on sure she knew what she was talking about.
He was the devil.
She also told me, I don't know if I put it in the book, but she told me don't bring him back to her house. And I don't think he ever went back for years, like after we got married, had a baby or whatever. So yeah, it was crazy. When now that I look now, I saw the signs, but I was so busy trying to run away from what my current situation was instead of dealing with being able to express myself to my parents. I just went on to another situation, thinking that, this looked good. It feels better. And I feel a little more comfortable and safe in that situation because I didn't have to deal with a lot of things. It was just get up, do you, go back to sleep kind of situation. So I thought I was getting the jackpot when I got with him, but I really wasn't. So that was the issue right there. I should have known what man meets a young girl and never want to have sexual intercourse with her. You know what I'm saying? Always just buying stuff. It was like he was grooming me. Because, like I say, I think when people see people from the outside, they can tell what you're missing because your body language speaks a lot when you're not sure with yourself. So I had a lot of low self-esteem issues as a child. I can say that now as an adult. But me, I was just, I don't like this situation, so I'm going to leave. So I think that he saw a lot of things in me, and so he groomed me. So it didn't look like, I'm going to get what I want from you, and I'm going to do this to you and have control over you. Because that's, he just seemed like the perfect gentleman. Like I had hit the jackpot when I got with him. So that's where it started.
So when the first abuse, how did that start? Did you see it coming? Were you shocked, or was there like a progression?
I actually did not see it coming. I didn't write about it in the book. So one day, because like I said, I left my mom's house, went and moved with him because they thought I was grown. So it was me, my daughter, him, and his mom. So one day we were sitting in the living room, and it was a picture. So this picture of my ex-husband and this girl, they look like twins. Actually, they look like identical twins. I was like, you got a sister you didn't tell me about. Not knowing it wasn't his sister. So a child came in and said, you must be his cousin because that's his girlfriend. I'm like, he ain't got no girlfriend because I'm the girlfriend. Little child came in and said that. So after the child left, and I was like, what's really going on? Because the mama immediately put the child out the house. So I waited later on and I told the picture. I said, because why would a child come in the house and tell a lie? That doesn't make sense for a child to come and say, I must be the cousin because that's the girlfriend on the picture. So I told the picture. So later on, his mom said something. He said something. That was our first encounter for verbal abuse. When he hit me again, that's when he found out. No, he hit me the first time before he found out I wasn't 18. But he hit me. We were staying in our first little place together. That's when he originally hit me, and he apologized, said he was gonna marry me, kind of situation, telling me stuff I want to hear because he knew I wasn't going back home no matter what. And I think that he took advantage of that situation, And of course, me, I was like, well, at least I can get my way over here because I can't do what I want to do at my mom's house. So I was like, oh, he apologized. He's not going to do it again. The Lord behold, it happened again.
And then escalated.
Yeah.
So you guys, fast forward, so you guys had the one child, and then you got pregnant again. So was there abuse in between that? Was it something that happened every now and then, or was it constant?
When I had my first child, and it happened a couple of times, and we finally split up. And I think I want to say he probably wasn't. He was under 10. So we split up, but we got back together later because I ended up, it's a 10-year difference in the kids. So one day he was like, hey, I want my family back. I done changed. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Cause you ain't been bothering me no more. So we good. Cause it had been years. And I was like, I wasn't really seriously dating anyone anyway. So I was like, okay, I really want this house, this white house with a picket fence, a pool, a mother and a dad. I want to have something I never had before. And so I took them back and it started again.
How long did it start after you guys got back together? And so after 10 years, you would think, okay, you know what, this leopard has changed his spots.
Right.
But, did the abuse start back up right
after?
Or did it
take a while? Maybe within not even a 4 year. Not even a 4 year, because I got back together and I immediately got pregnant again with my third child. So it started, but in my mind, it wasn't as bad, because I'm like, he just, may put a pillow over my head, cover my face, may hold me down. Like in my mind, he not black in my eyes. You can't see the bruises. And when I would tell people like, oh, I was like, no. He is not nice, but because you couldn't see the abuse. I think that was the biggest issue too. So got pregnant again after that. And
so this is with the third child.
No, that was with the fourth child. We started right after with the fourth child. Then I guess when I started getting bigger and pregnant, he was so nice and coming back how he was when he said he wanted his family back. And then it started up again with the third child. But it when it started up with the third child, it was more verbal. It was more mental. Because at this time with the fourth child, he was saying things to me like he had never said before. Oh, you big, ain't nobody gonna want you. So it stuck in my head because I remember when I got pregnant with my first child, his mom was like, he don't want you. You fat. You the biggest thing he ever dated. So I was like, oh, okay. It must be true that your mama said this 10 plus years ago. And then you saying I'm fat. I'm not, nobody's gonna want me, ain't gonna never be nothing. So, I was stuck. I was like, yeah, you're right. I ain't nothing. Ain't nobody gonna never want me. So I guess I'm gonna still be with you then because you right. I had low self-esteem. And like I said, abuse was just here. Then he started back with the physical abuse. And after I think it was around 2013, I went to church. The church was Tabernacle of Praises in McDonough, Georgia. And the pastor was preaching. He said, somebody's being told they ain't going to be nothing. They da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh, the pastor talking to me. So I was like, you know what? God ain't send me here for me to start getting a wake-up call to get myself together. You know what I'm saying? So I went back and I was like, okay, I'm going to go about my business because you're not going to change. You're not going to change. And then once again, he left, right? He left and he came back a couple of years again later. And in the mix, we were seeing different people. I had got in a serious relationship, thought I was in love and thought I had hit the jackpot again. And he did not accept. You understand?
He did not accept somebody else.
Right. And so he was strange behaviors. Like normally he would fake cry, and I'll take him back. But I knew when his fake cry from his real cry. So this time he came to the house, supposed to be visiting the kids. And he was like, if only my grandma was here. And he broke down crying like seriously.
For real tears.
And I was like, oh yeah, this man finna lose his mind. Like, yeah, he can't come back to this house. Like, he got to
Mm-hmm.
go.
Mm-hmm.
And he left, and because he had moved down to Tennessee, don't know, because I know people can see it on the AJC. So he moved down to Tennessee, and so I would take the kids, on the weekends to see the kids, because I was like, I'm not that type of woman. They need to know their daddy, only because too, I have a girl, and I don't want her to fall in my steps. Like, even though she don't see a good thing between me and him, maybe he's different when they're away from, us as a couple. So I
Mm-hmm.
was taking him down back and forth. And so he started acting strange. He's just like, he was just moving strange. I can't even put it into words. It's just like I knew someone right. And so the guy I was dating at the time, he said, no, not the guy I was dating at the time, but the guy I was dating at the time, cousin said, hey, I don't think that's a good idea for you to keep driving to Tennessee with your kids. Like, you might need to leave that alone. I said, oh, maybe she knows something I don't know. So I was like, nah, I ain't going back no more, bringing the kids back to Tennessee. So then when we got to, I said, I'm done. You're doing too much. And we went every year we would take the kids out of town on a 7-day vacation. So they choose where they want to go. So we would book a 7-day vacation. So remind you, it was my fourth child's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, hey, where's the money? I got the thing. This is the price. You need to go ahead and pay. And he was like, no, I'm not going to pay. I said, oh, okay. So you're not going to pay. So I said, I ain't going to worry about it. I went to go pay for the trip, and he had took all the money out the bank account, out our joint account, left me 16 cents.
Oh, wow.
He left me like 16 cents. It wasn't even nothing to talk about. And he took all the money. So I went ahead and, booked the vacation. So we went out of town, came back, and he just started calling the phone.
So did he go? He didn't go with y'all. Just you
No,
two?
he didn't go with us. No.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So after, I was like, I'm not finna entertain him because, it wasn't like I didn't have the money, but you had more money than I had, so you should have paid. So that's when he called, and I answered the phone. I said, you know what? I'm done. You don't need to call. You ain't got to worry about these kids no more because you're doing the most. I said, because you shouldn't have took the money because that was our money. So that's when I had him on speaker. I had him on speakerphone. He said, oh, I'm going to kill you and everybody in that house. That's what he said.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't hesitate. Because like I said, when he sat at the house before he had went on to move to Tennessee, he was crying to me. He wished his grandma was still here. So I knew that his brains weren't right. So I immediately hung up the phone, and I went straight to the courthouse to get a restraining order. But now, because of restraining orders, they just don't give them to you like right away, like they used to back in the day. So it was like, we're going to serve him, and, we'll give you a court date to come back. But, we never made it to the court date to come back.
So, okay. Woo, yeah.
Right.
Okay. So this is the time when we need to take a break. So, wow. So I'm gonna give Shanita a minute to breathe. There's a whole lot. There's a whole lot left to unpack in this story. But so we're gonna give Shanita time just to kind of get breathe. And listen, I need to breathe too. Because that's a lot. And because you know what, a lot of the story, guys, I am hearing for the first time too. So we are, if you're just tuning in, we are talking to Shanita Dawson-Ugwuke. Okay, Ugwuke. And we are talking about how, trauma tried to kill me. And she's telling the story of the abuse and the escalation. You're going to hear what happened next as we get more into the story. But this is the first episode of the new season of My Heart on Pages. And I am super excited to have you here. And so, Shanita, how does it feel to be a best-selling author?
It feels amazing. Sometimes I still wake up and I'll be looking like, oh, that's not me. But I did it. Like, yes, it's such a release, honestly. It's because when you walking around, it's like weight on your shoulders. It's like you always say, everybody got a story to tell and tell your story. So, and I'm like, when I first heard you say that, I thought about the things I always tell people when I talk about my kids. Can't nobody come tell my kids nothing about me because my kids know my story. You ain't
That's
gonna be
right.
able to come tell them that about their mama because they know. I would sit up there, and if they don't know, I'm gonna break it down for them, but they know. So when I heard you say that, I was like, you know what? It just like released all the pressure off of me because it's no more shame I'm carrying.
Absolutely.
Because it's like forgiveness is for you. You got
That's
to release it to let it go.
that's right.
And if we go around, when I look at people, and I'm always telling people, this is what you know I think you should do. See, this what I've been through. I know this what you need to do. You got to release it.
Mhm,
So
mhm,
just being that best-selling author is it was a release for me
mhm,
to let
mhm,
me know nobody has control over you no more because it's out there. There's no secrets. There's no hiding behind the curtains. You don't have to cry no more unless it's just that moment, but you let it go. Nobody has control over you. So that's what I like about being the best-selling author. I was able to tell my story, and I think I mentioned it at the book signing when I told you after what's going to come up next. We're going to discuss one. I got in an Uber, and the guy told me, he said, "I feel like you got a calling on you." And
mhm.
I was like, "Okay, this man loony." And we started talking, and that's when he introduced himself and told me he was a pastor. He said, "You got a story to tell, but don't you tell your story until God tell you it's time."
Mhm,
And that was in 2018.
mhm,
And it took it to 224. And it's funny because when I was in therapy, me and my therapy was talking. I said, I keep seeing 22, 22. And 22 came around 2022. It didn't work out. And I was like, okay, what it is. And I remember my therapist saying, that's not your time, it's 24.
mhm,
And
mm.
look how it worked out. I was
Yes,
like,
yes.
okay,
It was
you
good
know
story,
more
right?
than what I know. Okay, what God telling you. So
Well,
it worked out.
you know what? I truly truly believe that everybody has a story, and my goal is to help people tell that story. There
Yeah.
are people who are walking around and they're suffering because of their stories. They
Mm-hmm.
don't know that they can share it. They don't want to share it. For whatever reason, there's somebody standing over here in their ear telling them they shouldn't share it. And if I was
Mm-hmm.
you, I wouldn't. And so I believe that everybody should be able to share their stories
Mm-hmm.
without feeling like they're being exploited.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love what I do, because I honestly want to help people tell their stories, and I do that through my own story
Mm-hmm.
and my story of walking limitations. And I didn't go through abuse at the level that you went through it, but abuse is abuse.
Yep.
I went through some ugly times,
Mm-hmm.
and there were times when I was, listen, my self-esteem was so low down on the floor, it couldn't get any lower. I didn't know what it was like to love myself from the inside
Mm.
out,
Yes.
because people were constantly making me feel like I was the weakest link.
Yep.
And when you feel like you're the weakest link, then you're open to accept anything. You
Anything.
only know when you start to love yourself from the inside out and love
Mm-hmm.
who God created, then you start saying, okay, you know what? I'm not getting ready to put up with this.
Right.
You have to get to that point, and you got through that point.
Yep.
So that was our little hiatus, guys. I'm still learning this whole setup, so bear with me. So it'll get better, but for now, you guys just got an intermission as we get back to the story. So, okay, so you guys went on the family vacation with the kids without him. He stole
Yes.
all the money from your account, left you 16 cents. And that's so
Mm-hmm.
trifling. He didn't close the account. He
No.
left just
No.
enough to keep it open. He kept 16 cents in there. He
I'm
couldn't say, hey, he closed the account, because you got to get permission from the other person to close an
to
account.
close the account. I
You
thought
don't
maybe
have
he
to.
changed the PIN number, because sometimes he would
Right.
do, I hate to say trifling, but trifling stuff. I'm gonna
Okay.
keep it real.
Okay. Okay. So listen, I want to share. I want to share another part of your story, and in here, let's see. I'm gonna go to part in the back. He says, um, okay, I'm gonna come here. We had finally married, and a couple of years went by without any abuse. I got pregnant again with my third child, and that is when the abuse started again. One time, he poured surge soda on my hair in front of my mother while I was pregnant. That is when I knew I had to fight back because I was so embarrassed. I picked up a cast iron skillet and hit him in the head with it as hard as I could. He
Mhm.
called the police on me. He must have been scared of me because he had never tried it again. And shortly after, we went our separate ways. 10 years passed. We dated other people and became better at parenting our son. One day he came to the house to drop our son off and said he wanted his family back, that he had changed and would prove it to me. I decided to give him another chance because I was not dating seriously and wanted my kids to have a real family. We remarried and had 2 kids within 2 years. By this time, I had finished my associate's degree and started working on my bachelor's degree. While we were preparing to celebrate my graduation, he decided to degrade me in front of family and friends. One of the happiest moments of my life became another sad and traumatizing moment. The only difference is it was not physical. So again, I overlooked it. Everything was going well until he went outside our marriage and began to disrespect our home. During this time, my mother passed. I overlooked the cheating because I was grieving the loss of my mother. During this time, I became pregnant again and lost the babies. That is when the mental abuse started. He started telling me I was not going to amount to anything and that no one would want me. I decided to get an easy job that would be performed with my that I could perform with my eyes closed. I filed for divorce and began dating again. So oftentimes, people go through abuse, and you have people who are, I call them in the back section or in the yakety yak section. It's like, oh, if I was her, or that couldn't be me, and they think, and when you're in an abusive situation, you're just sitting there taking it. No, you don't take it. You fight back. You fight back with what you have in you to fight back. So you
Mhm.
fought back. You fought back, girl. When I read that you hit him upside the head with that skillet, girl, I fell out laughing. I was like, I know that's right. You gotta fight. And sometimes it's hard to fight. I know for me, I had 3 children, and
Mhm.
I was afraid for them, but at the same time, I didn't have the backbone that I needed to protect myself against him. But then I had to grow backbone. And boy, when I grew backbone, honey, I grew backbone. I'm not that same person. Not
Mm-mm,
the same
mm-mm,
person I was 15,
mm-mm,
16, well, what, 20 years ago? Not
mm-mm.
that same person. This is a whole new different Laquita.
Yep.
So take us through the night that he showed up at your house. What was that day like? And you share some of that in the story, but share that. What was the day like when your whole world changed forever?
Well, I was sleeping in the bed. Me and my ex at the time, we were asleep. When I woke up, it happened so quick. Before I could say I love you, baby, I couldn't get baby all the way out. All I know is I went back. You know, can I mention it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Talk about it.
So on that night, it was probably about 4 or 5 in the morning, probably not even that early, that late in the morning. So, like I say, I woke up, never made it all the way off the bed, and I could see him holding the gun in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to say, I love you, baby. But I never got baby completely out. And I just went back.
Mm-hmm.
In my head, I only hold 2 gunshots.
Mm-hmm.
So, when I went back because he was shooting me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got up again, because I couldn't just move right away. Because in my head, it's like I knew he was coming only because God had already told me.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know. And I wasn't even supposed to be at home in that day, but God told me I was going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I went home because it stormed real bad that night. So I went home, and I only went back home not because, my other plans was to go to a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
But I never had my clothes. I
Because
left.
you were in school, right?
I was at school that night. I was in
Mm-hmm.
class, and they released us from school. And so one of my classmates, she was like, please don't go home. Because I told everybody, I said, hey, I'm finna die tonight. Y'all don't see me no more. Just to let you know. And everybody.
So wait. So go back. You had a dream.
No, I didn't have a dream. I was sitting putting some furniture together. I had ordered new furniture after, me and him had broke up. Because like I said, I was dating somebody else. So I was sitting on my knees putting the dresser together. I was on the phone putting the dresser together, and I know I'm talking normal, but my friend was like, "Girl, what are you saying? You not making sense." But I'm like, "Girl, I just told you." We was having a conversation about, "Oh, I got me a new man," and da 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 da. But I was putting furniture together, so I end up stabbing my hand, and it was like out of nowhere. I see him shoot me in my chest, and I fly back. So I got up. I ran to go to my grandma's house because I was so scared of the house. I went to my grandma's house, and I was trying to tell her what God had just showed me. She was like, "No, baby, don't say that." And I was like, "Grandma, you've been the oldest person in my family that go to church consistently." So after she said that, I called my daddy. And I said, "Daddy, he gonna kill me." My daddy said, "Are you okay?" That's the first thing he said. He said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm okay, but I know you don't hear from me that often, but I want you to know this man gonna kill me. God just showed it to me." My daddy prayed with me and told me to calm down. Like I say, I ain't never been that scared to be in your own house, because I got up and I left. I was like, forget this house. I'm gone. Because, I done had premonitions before, but never of myself. So when that happened, like I say, fast forward, I went to school that night. It stormed real bad.
So how long, I'm sorry, how long after you had the premonition? How long after that?
Not even a week. Probably not even a week. Because my son's birthday was the first week of March. And I ordered the furniture. They delivered the furniture, and I was putting the furniture together, and it happened on the 19th. It happened on the 19th of March. So, like I say, ooh, my ears ringing. When I seen what I seen, I tried to tell my grandma, I tried to tell my daddy that, I'm going to die, because I didn't really communicate with my maternal grandmother at all. But I did tell my daddy. When she said no, I went ahead and called my daddy, because I was like, he's a pastor. If she telling me not to say it, I know for sure he gonna be able to tell me something. Somebody got to tell me something, because I know I'm not crazy. So, like I say, he prayed with me and everything. So then a couple of days later, I went on to school. Like I say, I was supposed to take clothes. I packed clothes, but I accidentally left the clothes. And so when they released us from school early, one of my classmates, I told everybody in the class, because I'm always a smiler. Honestly, I'm a smiler. So people don't probably take me serious because I smile all the time. So she kept saying, no, no, no. And she held my hand, because her husband is a pastor. And she was praying me. She said, please don't go. Please don't go. I said, girl, I got to go. I got to be obedient. God told me I'm going to be okay. And at this time, in my head, I think I was so drained and so stressed that even if okay meant my death, I was okay with it. Because anybody who knew me before my mom passed, I was a scary cat. So anything about death or creepy, scary stuff like that, it would spook me out. But I was okay, and I was like, no, let me go on and go home. I'm going to be obedient. And so I called my ex up at the time, and I said, can you go home with me? And he was like, well, because he was like, I'm not going to mess with you on that level until you get a divorce. He said, I cannot mess with you being a married woman. He said, he just didn't feel right about it. I said, I promise I'm not going to do nothing. I just need to make sure that you come home with me so I can make sure I'm at court on time. I said, because I got to get this restraining order. So we was fasting too. We was on a church fast. And so we went on home, like I say, went to sleep. And when I don't know what made me get up still to this day, but when I was getting up, I barely made it this far off the bed. And I could see him standing there with the gun pointed at me. And I'm like, I love you, babe, but I never got baby out. And I flew back. Yes, and when I got back up, once I realized he was gone, I started kicking my leg, because I set up my house so I could hear him coming. But I don't know how he got to me, because the way I had everything in the hallway. You had to been in the hall before. You had to come through the house to be able to see how I set the house up. There was no way you got to me without making a sound. Because I set that up 3 days in a row. because I was like, okay, he probably gonna come because he had stopped calling. So
Mm-hmm.
I figured he
Oh,
was
he had a key. Did he have a key?
he didn't have a key.
So how did he get in?
Well, I'm not gonna say.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can only speculate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I kind of figured out how he got in.
Mm-hmm.
But because people
Yeah.
listening, I
Yeah.
don't want to
Yeah. I got
traumatize
you.
anymore.
I got you.
For him to come in, I had a lawnmower in the hall. Like I took the physical lawnmower,
Mm-hmm.
put it in the hallway. I put some stands in the hallway and I stacked it up with coolers. So if you came through, we was gonna have to hear you. I don't know if we couldn't hear him because it was storming that night. I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But when after he came in and I woke up and said, "I love you, baby," and he started shooting me and I went back.
Wow.
And so before like we laid there, so my ex, he was like, don't move, don't move. He was holding me down. And I was like, I gotta call 911. So normally in the abuse, he would like choke me, cover me with a pillow or something like that. But I already knew his pattern. So normally I would sleep with my phone up under the pillow. But I said, no, I'm not sleeping like that. Because even if he coming to scare us, he gonna know where I have my phone. So I was smart this time. I put the phone down by my leg. So when after we didn't hear anything, I kicked the phone up with my right leg and grabbed it with my right hand to call 911.
Wow.
So that's when I called 911 and I was like, hey, I just been shot and I don't know if they still in the house. And they was like, can you say their name? I said, I don't want to say their name in case they come back and finish me off.
So at that time, you didn't know how many times you had been shot.
No.
So Shanita, tell the audience, how many times were you shot?
10.
10 times.
10 times.
Lord have mercy.
And I only seen 2. By the time the ambulance came, or what 911 or whatever whoever all came, like you could only see like blood skiing out of my stomach. Like you could see I was shot 2 times in the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
But when the paramedics came in, they kept flipping me and they was just counting. I was like, oh, it's getting hot in here. Can I get some ice? And they was like, no, you can't get no ice. And I was like, I feel like I'm about to pass out. But I didn't know I was shot that many times until I woke up because I could only see the 2 gunshots where the blood was just out my stomach. So,
Mm-hmm. So I know this is a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot. Thank you so much for sharing. So where were you shot? If you don't mind me asking, if you can talk, where were you shot? 10 times, twice in your stomach.
I was shot in my stomach. I was shot in my hips. I was shot in my legs. I was shot in my vagina area.
Mm-hmm.
So like,
wow,
down there. So yeah.
But God. Whew, girl. Praise God. You still sitting here to tell about it. So how are you? How are you now? How are you doing now?
I still struggle. Sometimes, I try to stay away from steps because that was my hardest thing because I couldn't walk, So after that happened, even when I came home, like I couldn't go to the bathroom on my own because they had to repair my ovaries. They had to repair my vagina. They had to repair my intestines. Some else in my body they had to repair. They couldn't cast my leg off because it was so many bullets in my leg and my hips.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wheelchair bound. And so I had to learn how to walk over. So I've been through physical therapy 3 times, but at this point, at least I'm walking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I struggle sometimes because I still have a bullet left in me. I had 2 left, but 1 came out on its own. So now I'm still stuck with 1 bullet in me. So I still have problems with, my hips.
Mm-hmm.
I walk a little funny. So, I try to wear my heels.
That's okay. I walk a little funny too, girl.
Like I used to love wearing heels. I used to wear heels all the time, but it's kind of like now you got to go with the flow because you don't know. And sometimes I want to be cute, but then I feel the pain real bad later. So, but physical, the mental part, I'm okay. The physical part, sometimes it's the high and lows, like say for instance, last night, it was hurting so bad, so I couldn't even bend over, And then I just prayed about it and kept going because I know sometimes the devil is busy. You'll start having some flashbacks. And I was like, no. I ain't had this pain this severe in a long time, but I'm okay, but Mentally, I'm okay.
Mm-hmm.
And because I talk about it, not as in details, but I talk about, hey, you know, my ex-husband, he shot me multiple times. Yeah, you know, so I'm okay.
Mm.
And like the question I get asked all the time is, well, he must didn't want to kill you. I said he didn't have no intentions on killing me. He said he was gonna kill me and everybody in the house. He didn't shoot nobody else but me. He didn't even shoot the man that was laying next to me. He only shot me. Okay. He didn't have no plans on killing me. His plans was to traumatize me. That's all it was.
For life.
Because he said if I can't have you, nobody else can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that was his thing, because when I thought about it, you could have went up under the house and shot straight up in the bed and took me on out. You saw me when I was easing out the bed. You could have shot me in my head and took me right on out.
Mm-hmm.
God already showed me you was going to shoot me in my heart, but you didn't even do that. So I think you did that to traumatize me,
Mm-hmm.
to keep me from never having nothing. And like he said, if I can't have you, nobody else can.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that was his full intentions.
Wow, but God.
Only God.
So where is he now?
So he is serving life plus 5 in prison.
Praise God.
Yeah.
Praise God.
No early release, no nothing. You're going to do every single day. That's 40 years that you got. If I count it right, 35, 40 years, I think they gave him. So
wow.
Every day, every single day.
Amen. 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 So you're remarried now.
Yes, I am.
So,
Funny story.
You know, there sometimes there are people who go through things. They like, I don't never want another relationship. I don't want never know. No, no. They ward it off like the plague. But you found love. I've met your husband. You found somebody who treats you like a queen.
Yeah.
Who loves you dearly. And that's a blessing. That I'm so happy for you, y'all. Listen, her got a nice husband.
You know something he taught me, and sometimes he have to remind me if I'm having my moments. He's like, why don't you think somebody ever gonna love you? And I said, you know, if you've been through, he said, no, it's not about what you've been through. And I learned with him, what I thought was love is not what it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I learned, because I wasn't a materialistic person, but when somebody giving you what you don't have, you think that's love. Mm-hmm. And he has taught me that let somebody go by their actions. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I'll be like, you know, you're supposed to go out there and bring me a dozen of roses every Friday. That's not who he is. But just like somebody sit and talk with you, you know. And when he heard about what had happened to me, because I met him 10 years prior to, I met him in 2010, honestly. Mm-hmm. I had no idea, no intentions on this man, because I at the time I like old men that was gray hair, older than my daddy, honestly. And when he reached out to me, he was like, I told God if he kept you alive, I was gonna marry you.
Oh wow.
And I was like, oh no, you're not. But he really did. And he prayed with me every day. I wouldn't have never thought somebody who wanted to be with me years ago would want to have me in my condition. So he showed me it's not about what you look like, what you got. It's all in your heart, you know. So I'm grateful for that.
Wow, girl, you just said a word for me. Because sometimes we go through things and we feel like, you know what, nobody's gonna want me in this shape, nobody's gonna want me in this condition. But there is somebody for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And it's not a way to be patient.
You just have to wait and be patient. So how are the kids?
The kids, they're okay. I say one of them still struggles a lot. We're still working on that. She's kind of opening up now, but it's a struggle, you know. But I try to talk to her all the time, because sometimes they seem scared and weary, but I have to talk to her to keep making sure she don't go that path that I went. You know, because she was a daddy's girl. She loved her daddy, honestly.
Now, did he have any other children? Just the 3 that you guys have?
I was told he had another child, but
No, don't know
Can't
for sure.
confirm, but I know about these. So like, there's no communication. You know, he can't
Mm-hmm.
communicate
Mm-hmm.
with none of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So even with the child that was grown, the judge said you can't even talk to him, and he was grown, so he can't talk. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he can't talk to nobody. But the kids, is they're okay. You know, surprisingly, my son, he was a daddy's. Well, all the kids was daddy's kids anyway. You would think the boys would have been mama's babies, but they love their daddy because they
Mm-hmm.
were fishing, you know, do manly stuff all the time. Even
Mm-hmm.
baby girl loved to fish at the time. But
Mm-hmm.
when I look back at my son, he is actually doing good. He
Mm-hmm.
loves his wife. He take care of the kids. And I remember when he got, you know, his wife got pregnant, and he was so scared to tell me she was pregnant. And I was like, why are you scared? He said, Mama, I don't want to be like my daddy. I said, son,
Mm-hmm.
you may have your daddy name, but you're not your daddy.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at my son, I said, God, you did wonders with him. I thought I had some partake in it, but no, like I know it wasn't them but God, because my son, when people see him, oh, he gonna be like his daddy. No, he not. We can't help he look like him.
Oh
They got the
yeah,
same
yeah,
name
yeah,
because
yeah,
he's
yeah. Don't do
identical
that.
to his.
Mm-hmm.
He takes care of his wife. Like most kids, young like that went through that, they would pick up that pattern, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm grateful and blessed to have that happen, you know. So, but like I said, the other kids, only one she still struggles, so you can't mention daddy name,
Mm-hmm.
nothing about daddy. So you have to, like, I still have to be mindful with her. But everybody else, they're okay, you know, they moving forward.
Yeah, okay, okay. Well, girl, all I know, there's a song, you know me, there's a song about everything. It's when you
Mhm.
don't know my story, you don't know the things that I've gone through.
Mm.
You cannot imagine the problems and the pains that I've gone through. And I know that ain't the words, y'all. You don't know my story. You
Yeah.
cannot look at a person and tell what they've been through because
Mhm.
you are beautiful.
Well,
You
thank you.
are truly beautiful. So, what's next for you, Shanita?
Oh, well, I'm still working on trying to write the full story. And then the
Yes,
devotional book.
yes. Two times best. Wait a minute, girl. You
Right,
a
two times
two-time
bestseller.
best-selling
Two
author. Wait
times
a
bestseller.
minute. Wait a minute.
And then the award for
Yes.
the book award. Then the
Yes,
book
and you
award I
are the
received.
recipient of the first annual Pay Pro V Publishing Book of the Year Award.
Yes, yes.
Yes, for your for Trauma Tried to Kill Me.
Mm-hmm.
Two-time best-selling author, number one best-selling author with the Women of the Waiting Room. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
our journey from girls to
Rest
women.
of women. Mm-hmm.
And then second best-selling author this past week with
Yep.
Listen Linda presents the Women of the Waiting Room Surgery for Your Soul devotional.
Yes.
Yes, 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 yes. Congratulations.
Yes, I'm
Congratulations.
happy. I'm happy about that.
Congratulations.
I can't wait to
So,
get the
yeah.
devotional book.
Yes, 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 yes. I got to put an order in for those this week.
Yes, yes.
But it has really been a pleasure. And you know what? I know there's so much more to the story. Listen, I'm like, I don't know when this girl sleep because when I tell you she be on the move, on
On
the
the go.
move, on the
On the
move, honey.
go.
On the move, honey. We have to come down to where you are and
Mm-hmm.
do a book signing together.
Yes, we
So
need to.
whenever you get that set up, girl, just let me know. I'm coming.
Yes, yes,
I'm
ma'am.
in
I'm
support
working on
of
it,
you.
working on it, working
Yes,
on it.
yes. So tell people how they can purchase a copy of Our Journey from Girls to Women from you.
So you can reach me at Shanita Dawson at yahoo.com. That's ShanitaDawson at yahoo.com. You can message me on Facebook, which is being Shanita, or you can reach out to me on Instagram, which is ASH13TER7.
All right. All right. So, Shanita, thank you so much for being the first guest for the new season of My Heart on Pages. It
Yeah.
has been a pleasure. And listen, guys, tune in, keep up with Shanita, message her, connect with her, hear more of your story. Listen, if you are looking for someone to come and speak about trauma, this is your girl.
Yes.
She can do it. She can do
Oh,
it.
yes.
So listen, I am Dr. Laquita Parks, and again, I am the CEO and founder of PayProV Publishing. So 100% of everybody living and dead has a story. 100% of everybody living and dead has a story. And my goal, my mission is to help you take that story from a thought to a realization, because there are so many people who are hurting, so many people who are struggling, and there's somebody who's waiting on the other end of your story so they can get healing from their story. So we have a lot of projects, a lot of opportunities for you to tell the story. One of the projects that we're working on now, that we're starting on May 1st, the power of words and feelings. This is a 30-day journey. Shanita has signed up to take this journey with me. I am challenging you to take this journey. Women, embark on a 30-day journey to explore the profound connection between words and feelings. Because, sometimes we can be all in our feelings, but it
Yeah.
ain't about a feeling. Sometimes our feelings don't align. And sometimes when we're in our feelings and we're emotional, we don't get the full scope of what's supposed to be going on. So I always tell people, I think we had this conversation before, in writing your story, you have to remove the emotions, because you want people to understand your story, but you don't want to be so emotional that it's all over the place. And you take people on a roller coaster ride. People don't want to go on a roller coaster ride unless they at the playground or at the fairground and they're really on a roller coaster. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not a great thing. Sometimes it is. But if we can help you in any way, no matter where you are in your story writing journey, reach out to payprovpublishing.com, PAPROVI publishing.com, and we can help you. If you've started writing your story and you don't know where to go from there and you're stuck, we can help you get unstuck. If you've never written before and you have no idea how to get started, we can help you get started. And if you've written your story already and you're ready to publish it, give us a call. Let us look at the story for you, help you through the process. And if it's ready, we can publish it for you. All right. So again, Shanita, thank you so much, my love,
Thank
for
you for
being
having me.
on. Thank you for your honesty. I know that was a lot. I know it was a lot, but thank you for choosing to share your story on my project. Thank you for choosing to share your story on my platform. And thank you for trusting me to help you take that story from a thought to a realization. All right.
Yeah.
You have anything you want to share? Any last words you want to share with the listening audience?
I just want to tell anybody, if you know somebody who's going through trauma, just reach out to them. Even if you have to send them to me, I'll talk to them, because everybody needs a little word of encouragement. So I'm available anytime. I'm always on the go. If you don't hear from me right away, just give me about 10 minutes. I'll get right back with you.
Yes, she will. Yes, she will.
Yes. And thank you for having me. I'm
Oh,
so
my
honored to
pleasure.
be
My
able to do
pleasure.
this.
My pleasure. All right. Thank you so much. So it has been a plump, pleasing pleasure. Better than a triple decker peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So until next time, have an amazing day and be kind. Be the difference that makes a difference. All right. Saw you. Bye bye, guys.
Bye.